So we are live now, and can you hear me?
Okay, wait. I think we're good now. Hold on. All right.
We
Much better.
okay. Can you see me here through YouTube and everything?
All right. Yep, we should be
Can,
good. Okay.
can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. Well, we are live, guys. Welcome to the live version of MMA bets and breakdowns. We man, so I got a new mixer. You guys knew that last week. It was garbage, so I sent it back. Then my other mixer didn't show up in time, and then I have been sick for the last couple of days. So it is all I have enough Tylenol and cold and flu medicine and Sudafed coursing through my veins right now to keep me through this. But if I just start drifting off and dozing off and saying random stuff, well, you know why.
We need to address the real elephant in the room. I got my first tattoo, and you called me and asked me when I was going to commit my first murder.
Um, have you committed your first murder yet?
It's not for me to say. All right, let's start
Let's
on the
let's
breakdown.
no, let's see what you got there really quickly.
All
You know,
right, so
you're gonna show it off. You got your jersey on and everything. Next thing you know, you're gonna be wearing a wife beater.
I got my jersey. I just feel like I'm from New York, even though I'm the least New York kind of person ever. So I don't know if you guys can see it. It's all wrapped up and nasty, but it's a jujitsu tattoo. Our claim to fame, our signature move is a rear naked choke, and in Portuguese, the rear naked choke they call the mata leão. So I got the lion killer. It's an African warrior with a lion's head. So that's my cheesy jujitsu tattoo. Yeah, Simon Oliveira. That's what I thought too. Since somebody said Simon Oliveira, I'm like, I'm gonna get a full sleeve though, so I'm not gonna have this forever.
Uh, I don't know. I don't know if I can handle Brandon with a full sleeve.
It's weird. I've been 25 years with no tattoos, and then I go right for a full sleeve.
I know. But man, so we've got fights going on tonight. Um, of course, for those of you who are on the Patreon, or not tonight, but this weekend, for those of you who are on the Patreon, we already posted a journal of mine, um, running through stuff. Again, this is late, but there's actually some really good spots on this card. It's not a crazy card with a bunch of names, but in terms of betting, there's some good spots. Do you like this card for face value, for entertainment value, for betting value, or are you just getting through it to do it?
This is like the worst like entertainment card ever. I mean, we just have like the worst of the worst, bottom of the barrel. But weirdly, I think there's going to be some good spots here to bet on. But there's plenty of entertainment this week. We got Belly to come to the rescue. We got PFL Challenger Series. Like we got plenty of stuff. But this UFC card is sad.
Yep. Now, are you gonna? I know you have a hate relationship with PFL. You bet them, and then everybody who should win loses, and even when they win, they still give it to the other guy. It's like the worst reffing, worst judging, worst everything. It's mob run. That's like straight up mob run. So, like, are you gonna bet PFL this week and just hope that they do the right stuff, or
Well, now I'm double worried because like Contender was hard enough. I raked up on Contender this year, but now this is PFL's version of Contender, which is going to be double rigged and crazy knockouts and upsets. But it's already a complete disaster, and I love it.
oh man, yeah, I'm curious about this one. We've got a guy, Josh De Silva. I mean, he doesn't train with us, but he's come out quite a bit, and we've won money on him with LFA quite a bit. He's Conan's son, the founder of American Top Team, so he signed the PFL gig. I think they're paying him pretty well too, and I'm just curious the type of talent they're going to drag into that PFL Contender Series. If it's going to be UFC Contender Series talent, or if it's going to be better or worse, or what.
Well, we just got to think about what makes sense, right? They just paid Josh a hefty toll. He's a double LFA champion, probably could have gone to the UFC if he wanted it. They're not going to try to kill him off on the Contender Series. They want him to go on and be a star. So this is a setup fight for a knockout. They got Taylor Johnson, who is Bellator's darling. I hate that guy. He's a horrible one to bet on, but he's in there nonetheless. They would like him to win if he could. So it's interesting. We'll see what they got. They have a couple cool wrestlers like Edwin Cooper Jr. That'll be nice, but I think this will be fun.
Okay, interesting. Well, let's get to this card because I'm curious about some spots here. They moved. Actually, it's funny. A lot of these spots just a couple days ago on the actual lineup on Tapology, and these fights aren't always Tapology's lineup isn't always the actual UFC's lineup, but just a couple days ago, the lineup here all kind of shifted quite a bit. Right now, I've got the first fight on the card is Jesse Strader and Chad and Heliger. Is that what you have over there as well? Make sure we're looking at kind of the same.
Yep, we're good. Let's rock it.
Let's do it, man. Both these guys. All right. So first of all, the bantamweight division. I've got a bone to pick right here. We've got Hunter Azure, who's been with me for a while now. He went 2-2 in the UFC. Was winning his fight with Brian Kelleher. He got knocked out, and then he fought Jack Shore. I think he's one of two people that Jack Shore has beaten who he hasn't finished. Hunter got cut, and he didn't even get cut. They just didn't re-sign him. And the UFC is signing bantamweights like crazy. They have more bantamweights, I think, than any other division, probably double. I mean, combined. It's insane. And then you have these guys, and I'm not trying to be a hater, but Jesse Strader, like how I really wonder. I mean, how did he get here? What is going on? Like some of these guys, I wonder, like, if they needed a last minute replacement, I mean, could they not find anybody on the roster who is willing to take that fight with Montel Jackson? I just don't really know that I see Strader as a UFC guy, and I don't know if I really see him staying around much. But then on the other side of that, and Heliger, I mean, I think he's tough. I think he's had a good streak. I really am curious about him as well. I just don't see like I know he was on a contender, and that's its own beast. They need fights on the contender, and they've got to sign people from the contender. It's just a weird fight to me. Strader, I think, is probably a better striker than he is anything else, and I don't think he's a great striker. And Heliger had a decent fight on the contender series. He's had I think he went. I'm looking at it now. He went 3-5 in his first 8 fights, and then he put together 9 wins straight, most of which are, you know, decision. I mean, I guess it's a good blend. He's got some punches, TKO, 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 split decision. He's a decent grappler with some decent ground and pound, and he's overall pretty well rounded. What's your take on this fight over here?
I tried my very, very hardest to figure out a way that Strader was going to be the pick here. Weirdly enough, I thought the fight that he looked the very best in was the fight against Montel, where he actually got knocked out. I think, man, we got to say what's up to Locke, who's in the chat. Manpreet, thank you so much for hopping on. I can't wait to chat with you tomorrow. But Strader, yeah, that's right. He's known for holding mitts in LA. He's kind of a fly by night, boxing guy in LA. He's not the worst of all time, but I don't think he's UFC caliber. And a lot goes said into, they talk about his body shots all the time, but the problem with his body shots is not really setting him up. He just kind of spams body shots until you drop your hands and then swings haymakers. And I think a guy like Heliger is, he's too veteran at this point. He's 35. He is a little bit on the older side, but he has really turned around his career. He just beat Gafarov, who was a Sambo world champion, who's actually very legitimate.
That's a solid win.
And you know what? I thought he lost because I had money on Gafarov. Going back to watch the fight, I thought, Chad won. He did what he needed.
Yeah.
My favorite thing this week, somebody asked me about this fight. They said, well, the line seems really wide here. And I said, well, here's the deal. You got an LA boxing coach, a celebrity boxing coach versus a guy on a 9-fight win streak who just beat a Sambo world champion on Contender Series. So that kind of explains the line to me. I like Heliger to wait out the initial storm and honestly probably finish him in the second or third.
Yeah, I like Heliger here. Like you said, I was trying to find a way Strader wins this, and I cannot find a way that Strader wins this at all. I mean, his level of competition is very low for the most part. I just don't know what he's good at, and I wonder, like, I wonder what secrets, what skeletons he knows about people that got him there in the first place.
Just to be a punching bag for Montel. They do like Montel.
They do. All right, next up. We've got Diana. Man, I'm an English teacher. I taught English for years. I cannot say anybody's name to save my life. Diana, but this isn't English, so I'll give you that. Diana Balbita and Gloria DePaula. We talked about this a little bit. I wanted to hate Diana Balbita, and I was watching her fight. I think it was with Molly at first, and some of her older fights, and she just plods forward and looks so uncoordinated and just throws and just kind of wild. But then I'm watching her, and she's got a really good low kick. She's got some pretty, aggressive hands. And as you watch her more and more and more, I feel like she's gotten a little lighter on her feet. I feel like she's gotten a little bit more athletic, if you can get more athletic, just less clunky, I suppose. Um, and I like her fight IQ. I like she's been taken down and she doesn't stay on the bottom and just play the guard, play the jujitsu game. She scoots back, gets back up to her feet, does a really good job at it. And she's aggressive. She knows how to win. She's got a decent fight IQ for being definitely a Muay Thai girl. Um, Took McCann down once. I mean, she took her down, had a single leg, had it high, chopped the neck, and then actually, oddly enough, got taken down the exact same way pretty, shortly afterwards. And then on the other side, we have DePaula, who, if you look at them, you think, oh, these are very similar. They're both Muay Thai girls without a lot of wrestling. But DePaula will just stay a stiff breeze, and she is on the ground on her back. And I don't even know that she knows what standing up is. I mean, she is just, I don't even know if she knows jujitsu. She just wiggles around on her back and does not have any sense of urgency to get. I don't know if she doesn't have a sense of urgency to get back up or if she's just so unable to get back up, but she is not getting back up. And I just like Balbita here because I think she wants to win. I think she just has a better idea of how to win, and that is by not being on your back. And I do like DePaula's boxing a little bit better than Diana's. Cleaner strikes, stiffer movement, or not stiffer movement, but like stiff punches. But I don't think she's going to be physical enough to really take advantage of that boxing. And I think if Diana wants to clinch or get it to the ground or kind of do anything, I think she can dictate where this fight goes.
I cannot wait to go on the opposite side of you because I can't get there with Diana Belbita. You told me, okay, fight IQ, she's got great leg kicks. And so I went back, I watched more tape than I'm even comfortable to admit because I didn't want to watch film on this one. I've done too much of it in the past on both of these girls that I didn't want to go open that door again. But I really didn't think that I didn't really think that her fight IQ was that good. Really, this fight comes down to something like two things for me. I think, well, actually, let me say this about DePaula. I thought DePaula was as horrible as you said that she, you just described about takedown defense and getting up off her back. The one girl who really, really did that to her was Jinyu Fry, who Jinyu Fry has a great top game. She is very physically strong, and she was a former Invicta champion. So I understand a little bit there. But if you watch her Contender Series fight against Pauline Macias, that girl's was on the judo team, or I think the Olympic judo team, maybe something like that. She's a very good grappler, very strong, mixes in wrestling with it well. And the one thing that Pauline did that was really, I'm sorry, what's this girl's name? Gloria DePaula. Yeah, the one thing that DePaula did actually, she went for a guillotine and used it to come on top and then just beat the hell out of her. She actually kept everything in front of her really, really well. And 3-4 takedowns in, that girl was exhausted. And then she just beat the hell out of her. So really for me, this fight comes down to one thing is Diana Belbita's volume, because she throws without setting anything up. It looks like she plans what combination she's going to throw. And then she just goes and throws it like, all right, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 leg kick. Whereas I think that Gloria DePaula is a very reactionary striker. She's got very good counters. She actually has really good hands. I I just can't get there with Belbita. For some reason, I'm just thinking that Gloria is just going to light her up and show her dominance in this one. I think she's had some really tough fights in the UFC in hindsight with Cheyenne and Jin Fry. I think this is her time. I just think she's so much better standing than Belbita.
Interesting. I don't know. I think Balbita gets it done. I don't know if I like either of them well enough to bet on either of them, but I think a over here is an easy pick on this. Over 1.5. I think that's an easy play.
Both these
I
girls can
don't
eat a shot, and they're like not
Yep.
good enough to finish each other.
And they don't have the power to really finish each other. I'm not saying anybody random stuff can happen, but I don't think it's a early finish.
I did want to say one thing though, and this is really technical. This is so funny. I like tweet now, like one tweet every week, just some random thing that I'm watching film on. But in the Liana Jojua fight, was really interesting is Deanna Belbita was doing the can opener, and like basic day one jiu-jitsu, Liana Jojua, who I also think is horrible, she just swung for an armbar, and instead of like letting go of the head and just getting out of the armbar, Belbita held onto it and got submitted with it. Like that is day one, like beginning stuff. And actually what I was seeing from Gloria de Paula on the ground was she was having good hips and throwing up attacks. So I wonder if almost the jiu-jitsu could come into play here.
Interesting. Next up, we've got Chaz Skelly and Mark Striegl. Let me hear your thoughts on this and I'll give you mine.
Oh man, this is tough. Well, what I do want to say about Chaz Skelly is Chaz Skelly legitimately is a very good grappler. Like I would say our grappling is probably a lot closer to Chaz Skelly's grappling than most people in the UFC. He does a lot of what is that called when you wrap around the body? What do we call that? Chest lock?
Chest lock? Yeah.
He does a lot of beautiful chest locks. He's got a lot of really good back takes, guillotines to coming on top. Like his grappling is legitimately very, very good. Um, that being said, he hasn't fought in 2.5 years. He's 36 now. He didn't really look that good last time. You know, he beat a Jordan Griffin who, if Jordan Griffin just did a little bit less, he would have won that fight. He tried doing too much, tried making it happen, tried taking advantage of situations that weren't his. Honestly, Striegel's at the lab. Striegl has wrestled his whole life. He's crafty grappler. He gets out of submissions. I kind of like Striegl to out cardio him, counter wrestle, and light him up on the feet. I think this is going to be a really sad retirement fight for Skelly, and I like Striegl a lot here, weirdly.
Yeah, when I was watching Striegl, I didn't really know how he was going to win. And, I'm like, all right, yeah, you're a wrestler. Your hands are decent. You're smaller. You're a 35er coming up. And so I was, not that I wasn't impressed with him, but, I mean, Chaz Skelly's got a lot of wins. He's 18-3. I think they have the identical records. Yeah, they're both listed as 18-3. And then I started looking at more Skelly tape. And Skelly, I mean, I am shocked that he's 18-3 with I mean, his grappling, like you said, is really good. He's very crafty. I really like his grappling. His cardio, especially in that last Jordan Griffith fight, and we don't know what we're getting with him. I mean, it's been so long. I mean, he could come out and look amazing. All we can do is go on the last bit of tape that we have. And the last bit of tape we have is 2 years ago against Jordan Griffin. And he could look immensely different. But if he looks anywhere near what he looked like in that Jordan fight, then I don't know that there is a path to victory. His cardio was atrocious and his hands are atrocious. And you take those two things with a good wrestler who's a decent striker. I don't think Striegel's a phenomenal striker, but he's significantly better than what we saw Skelly in his last outing. Reaching, hands flailing, just like off balance. I mean,
Dog shit.
tired, just looping stuff. I mean, he looked like a wrestler right out of the room who learned how to strike a week beforehand. And if that Chaz Skelly shows up, then Striegl is going to win this. And one thing we know at the lab is they're going to show up, they're going to be in shape, and they're going to be tough. And I don't know that he's going to get a quick submission on Striegl. And if he does, I mean, he didn't get a quick submission on Jordan Griffin, who has been submitted a good amount of times through his losses. So I think Striegl wins this. I don't know that. Yeah, I think if Chaz Skelly looks similar to what we saw last, I mean, this might be the last we see of him.
Yeah, this is his last fight, but I see in the chat everyone saying that Striegel's got a lot of cardio problems, and I can totally understand that. But that also being said, he was a big 35er. He was making 135 at that size. Like, he's going to have cardio problems. So this
Yeah.
fight is at 45, which, is not as good for the size and Skelly grabbing a hold of him, but it's a lot better for the cardio.
Yep.
So I think that if you guys ever wanted to choose a good dog, I mean, let's fade the 36-year-old in his retirement fight that can't strike, and his whole style is dependent on somebody grappling with him. If Striegl sprawls and brawls, I mean, that's going to be a rough night for Skelly.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're and again, the guys at the lab, when have you seen a guy at the lab gas? I mean, really, it's not a thing that occurs much. There's such hard grinding practices and sparring that, I don't know that we can, really hope that that's the path to victory is that he gasses. Because honestly, I think that's the only way that Skelly wins this. I mean, again, Skelly's a really good grappler. He's very crafty. I think Striegl just staying on the outside, like you said, in striking, I think that's the easy fight for him.
I think we're both on this one. It's weird. It's weird to pick Striegl because I would never
I
pick
know.
Striegl in another fight.
If it was any other fight, I don't think that I could pick it, but just watching Skelly's last few fights, man, and the thing with Skelly is he's big. He is a big well, his upper body is big, his lower body is the skinniest legs I've ever seen in my life, but his upper body and his frame and his reach for a 45er, he's gonna be significantly bigger than Striegl in terms of frame. Striegel's gonna have a lot more muscle on him, um, but I don't know that I see Striegl, um, really being outsized in this unless he's really shooting a lot. And then, I mean, look for Chaz Skelly to hit some of those chest locks and guillotine sweeps and come up on top.
All right, let's move on over to Stephanie Egger and Jessica Rose Clark.
Oh man, I wanted to pick Egger on this one. We talked about this. I really, really, really wanted to pick Egger on this because she's just big and physical and strong, and she has decent judo, and she fought Tracy Cortez, and Tracy makes a lot of good people look bad. And we talked. She fought Egger. She fought Maria Agapova, made her look bad. She fought Miranda Maverick,
She makes me look bad every time I train with her.
right? Who just fought Miranda Maverick though? Peter,
Aaron Blanchfield.
Aaron Blanchfield, and that was a really close fight. That was a very, very, very close fight with them. But she has a win over her. She has a win over Agapova. She has, and so I was thinking, all right, Eggers is better than we're giving her credit for, but losing to Tracy is a lot of people lose to Tracy. But then, Jessica Rose Clark does most stuff well. Decent striker. She's grown in 35-pound division. She was a little bit smaller at first, came up from 125. She's been in the division for a bit. I don't know if she's a world beater striker, but she's adept. Her wrestling is decent. She chains stuff well. And overall, she's a relatively decent fighter. She's getting a little bit older. But, again, in the women's division, we've talked about that as well. My worry there with Rose Clark is that I think her chain wrestling is decent. I don't know how her cage wrestling is going to match up.
It's a lot of head in the chest.
Yes. And I say that with Eggers, who's just I think she's a little bit taller and a little bit stronger. And I think if a taller, stronger person can make cage wrestling very difficult if you don't know what to do. If you're just a decent wrestler and then you get on a cage, all right, well, now you may not take anybody down. That is my worry on this is can she get the takedown if she wants it? Eggers is very stiff standing. I could actually see this being more of a stand-up fight maybe Jessica Rose Clark tries to get some takedowns, doesn't get them, maybe even gets tripped, judo tripped or something, gets back to her feet and decides not to engage in it. And I could see Jessica Rose Clark winning the striking battle here.
To me, that a lot of ADCC experience. Like, she does things correctly. She does things well. I think that Jessica Rose Clark is just kind of a grinder. Again, a head in your chest, just kind of grind you out, win the round, but barely, not really do much that's impressive. I think her striking is leagues better. And that's not a compliment because I don't think her striking is very good either. But I think Eggers is not good. Not good. So I hate betting on fights like this where it's like, okay, we need this person to come out with this game plan in order for them to win. To me, this is such a toss-up fight. I really think the only way to play this is over 1.5 or I think that should be pretty safe. But I don't really like a winner gun to my head, maybe Jessica Rose, but not my favorite.
I'm with you. I love the over on this. Jessica Rose Clark, almost all of her fights are going to a decision. Eggers,
and I want to I want to address Locke in the comments. He's asking Tracy Cortez's grappling versus Jessica Rose's wrestling. I mean, it's like NASA compared to me making a model spaceship when I was in kindergarten. Like, it's not even in the same realm. It's not. Tracy has done things to your favorite women's fighter, every single one of them. She has beat up every single one of your favorite fighters.
I mean, every girl who comes to the gym gets worked over by Tracy Cortez. And the funny thing is,
wait, girls, just girls?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, guys are getting worked over. I mean, I have seen Tracy drop men with body shots. I've seen. I mean, there's some really high level jujitsu girls who have come over and trained, who in a gi, of course, would kill Tracy. And I've watched Tracy, shove their heads down, take their back, and just maul them. People do not realize how her freaking grappling is. It really is that good. And she's unorthodox. Yeah, like her takedowns are really that good, but she has really good cage wrestling, and she does something that a lot of women don't do, is the inside trip. There's she comes in and inside trips people, and that just takes people off, off their feet and just out of their game. But watch, I think Tracy has taken now Tracy's knock is she's not finishing these rear naked chokes. She's getting everybody.
Which drives us crazy.
Which drives me nuts because I think she's had a rear naked choke on pretty much everybody she's ever fought. But yeah, that is the issue there. But man, yeah, people sleep on that.
All right, let's hit the next one. We got to probably cruise through these. This is going to be a 5-hour podcast, which is okay if you guys are okay.
I know, because we're looking at the comments and we're getting sidetracked over here. All right, you commenters, the peanut gatherer track over here.
All right, we got next up Gabriel Benitez versus David Onama.
Tell us your thoughts on that one really quickly.
Well, I just want to put it like this. I actually just bet on Onama on like some long shot parlay. I just put that in. But man, when I first taped this, I really didn't like Onama. The way that I look at it, you have this young guy who's extremely athletic. He's in great shape. He's hungry. Just got to the UFC. He threw the down with Mason Jones versus kind of a fat, frumpy Mexican, AKA washout Gabriel Benitez. And weirdly, as I was watching tape, I liked Benitez, and I don't know why, but actually I do know why. So here's what I was seeing. Onama is a good striker sometimes, but all of his punches are looping punches. Every single one is a looping, crazy, wild punch. And I actually had just made fun of Gabriel Benitez punches a few weeks ago when he was scheduled to fight TJ Brown, because it looks like he's kind of throwing these little like rabbit punches. But weirdly, those rabbit punches are so straight and so fast and so snappy. All I could see was Onama running in for a haymaker and just getting pieced up by the better kickboxer, who I do think is the better kickboxer in Gabriel Benitez. As I've gone through the week, I'm just going to choose to take the experience, the hunger, the athleticism, and Onama really doesn't get tired. Like, not a single one of his fights did he ever get tired. He fights for the top position. I just like Onama. I trust him over 15 minutes to fight hard and win rounds more than I trust Benitez.
I think you hit that one on the head. Benitez is showing up and fighting. No, Benitez is showing up in front of a crowd and sparring. He's there, but I don't know that he's trying to win. I mean, and I don't think he's trying to lose or anything. I think he just gets. I think he's gotten to the point in his career where whatever happens, happens. If he's winning, he's winning. If he's not, he's not. Onama's going to fight tooth and freaking nail for 15 minutes, and we saw it in the Mason Jones fight. He had his back taken and would not stop moving, would wiggle out, come up on top, get back. And he knows what to do. He doesn't stay on the bottom. He doesn't stay in these grappling exchanges. He knows how he's going to win, and that's getting back to his feet and fighting. The thing with Benitez is I think you're 100% right that he's a better kickboxer. His jiu-jitsu is actually really good. He has really crafty jiu-jitsu that he uses to get up from his back. He throws omoplata. He attacks the legs. He uses it to come up. I really like his jiu-jitsu. The issue that I think is Benitez is really good when he fights on his terms. And when he does what he wants to do, he looks very good doing it. But if you put him on his heels, he's too willing to trade, and he's not good at trading. And that's when he gets caught, is when he trades. And Onama is going to be in his face and swing, and Benitez is going to swing back. And I think that he's going to get clipped and caught for doing so. I think Onama wins this. I think it's. I don't know. It's going to be like an easy fight, like say like it's a blowout, but I think it's going to be a clear victory for Onama, even if it goes to a decision.
Yeah, you made a really good point that Benitez struggles with people that are dynamic. The one fight that was really impressive. So wait, first thing I want to talk about this too. People are saying amazing. Mason Jones 500 punches. Be there when you're done throwing and then start lighting you up. And he happened to go against a guy who really didn't get tired. And so he had to switch up his game plan. But Mason Jones makes people look a lot better than they are. And Benitez kind of has the opposite effect. He makes really good people not look as good as they actually are, weirdly. I thought the Omar Morales fight was actually good. I think Morales is bigger, stronger, better striker than Onama. And I thought Benitez did really well in that fight in certain points, held his own, clean kickboxing. But you're right. He struggles when people are dynamic and they close that distance and they explode. And that is for sure Onama's game in every fight.
Yeah, and somebody, right here, Jewish Better said, do you think his cardio would be the same at 145 that it was with Jones at 155? He took that fight against Jones on a couple days' notice. So, I mean, yeah, a weight cut is going to do a thing. But, man, if you're taking a fight without training for somebody and you're able to push the pace at that level in that amount of time, about Onama's cardio whatsoever. And somebody else was, talking about you don't trust his wrestling to dictate where the fight takes place. When has Benitez ever used his wrestling to really dictate where the fight takes place? So, I mean, this is going to be a striking
kickboxing
battle.
fight.
Yeah. I mean, it might get to the ground or some scrambles, somebody gets dropped or, weirder shit has happened. But this is a striking match here. This isn't a who has better wrestling. And I don't think wrestling is what we should be looking at when we're talking about this fight. In a lot of fights, I do think wrestling takes, a lot of is going to dictate who we think is going to win and lose. But the cardio I think goes to Onama. And honestly, just the youth, the fight. He's fighting and trying to win. Benitez's only win in his last 4 fights is against Justin James. And I'm sorry, but he's not in the UFC anymore. And if it weren't for COVID, I don't think that he ever would have gotten in the UFC.
Yeah, I think we can put this one to rest. I kind of like Onama here. Everyone has talked me into it. So if we win, thank you guys. And if we lose, I hate you for getting me off Benitez. I'm a sharp dude.
Next up, we've got Mario Batista and Perrin. This is the biggest lock for me on the card, I think. I mean, I'd have to go through it, but I mean, maybe the next fight, JP Pierce and Christian Rodriguez, but I think this is the easiest fight to call. Um, Batista is tough. He's a good striker. He's a good wrestler. He hits hard. Perrin is coming in here. I mean, Perrin had a fight coming up anyway, so he was training for a fight. He's not a heavy hitter. He generally Homer Simpsons people. He people hit him and hit him and hit him. They tire themselves out, and then he comes on. I don't think that he can tire Mario out, and I don't think he can hurt him with his punches. And I think this is an easy victory for Mario. And if you want to get a little risky, I think it's kind of an easy win, Mario via stoppage.
Wow. See, that might be the only part I disagree with. And the only reason I disagree with it is because Perrin is really, really, really durable. Like, even when he gets rocked, he kind of keeps ways to stay in fights. And I haven't seen Mario be that kind of one punch finisher like that. You know, he's got the flying knee and he's got some things like this, but um, Mario's good, man. I've always thought I was going to have to fight Mario at some time, some point, and I've always thought, man, this kid is good. He's aggressive. Like, how would I fight him? How would I beat him? And you know, as I started doing a little film study, he's not as good as I remember in my head, like kind of this illusion that I built of Mario. I think we talked about it. A lot of his strikes are repetitive. He keeps the same kind of rhythm, and the way that he goes out and wins is he breaks you down over time. The only thing with Perrin is Perrin really doesn't get broken down over time. He kind of sticks around, sticks around, sticks around. So really the way that I see this fight going is just Mario just kind of treating him like a punching bag for a few rounds. But the couple things that did scare me was the volume. Against Trevin Jones, that volume was really tough. And I can attribute that to maybe the southpaw stance of Trevin and trying to navigate that distance. But Mario doesn't put a lot of stuff out there. He kind of swings with his chin. He throws these like really aggressive punches. So I like Mario a lot here. Everything points to him winning. He's got good cardio. He's at the lab. He does everything correctly, does everything well. I love him, but I wouldn't put my kid's college fund on this one. Yeah, I don't know. That's all I got on that one. I like Mario a lot, but not my favorite of all time.
Okay. Next up, we've got JP Pierce, Christian Rodriguez. You know, I train JP, so I don't like to talk about my guys too much. You know, tell us about this fight. What do you think?
All right. This one has been the one that people are going crazy, crazy, crazy with. And I'm going to die on this hill this week. And it's not even, I'm agreeing with everybody else. It's not like I'm going against the grain here. But let me say this. Christian is good. Christian is very, 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 very good. Like, I think he's going to be a major, major player at 135 pounds if he can make the weight. I think Christian is good. He's got everything you look for. His fight IQ for someone as young as he is off the charts. It's incredible. His wrestling defense is phenomenal. He did some things in that Junior Cortez fight that I had to like write down and take for myself. And I've been doing that in my own training. This kid's like 22 years old at the time. His boxing is excellent. What was really interesting is we didn't see any kicks in that Junior Cortez fight. I think the actual stats were 0 kicks landed for Christian Rodriguez. And the fight before that, he threw 40 kicks in the first minute. So something was up with him that night. Something was wrong with him. Otherwise, I think we would have seen that killer instinct. I think he could have got the finish there, but Christian is
But it
good.
could have been why you missed weight as well, because he missed weight against that Junior Cortez fight. And you know, maybe he had a foot issue or something like that, wasn't able to run, because they had a lot of time to train for that fight. It wasn't like that contender fight got put in last minute. They had time for that. And I think that was the only time he's actually missed weight, because my understanding is that he's actually a smaller, I wouldn't say a
He's
smaller
my
35er.
size.
He's not a huge 35er. Like, that's not a guy who should be missing weight. Against JP is a huge 45er. I think JP is 6 foot or 6'1". And he looks big. JP's a big human. Just,
The hard
you know,
the hardest part here for me was like there was two fights available, right? Two late replacement fights. You had JP, who is not just like a big guy, but he's big for the weight class. And it's a weight class up. And then you also had the Mario Batista fight. And I'm like, why wouldn't Christian take the Mario Batista fight and ask for a 140 catch weight or do his best? Why would he take the fight against the guy who's 6 feet tall, never dies, like just a relentless guy? It didn't make much sense to me. And I guess here's my point. Christian Rodriguez is too good to win this fight. And what I mean by that is a lot of times when you get these late replacement guys, the way that they win is they come in throwing bombs. They'll just swing for the fences. They say, hey, I made it to the UFC. I'm going to get another fight after this. I'm just going to give it all. The problem with Christian is he's too technical. He's too beautiful of a striker. He's going to settle in. He's going to try to pick you apart and wear you down. JP's the wrong person to play that game plan with because he never gets tired. He always comes forward. He throws crazy volume. He can wrestle. He just does everything. So I think on a technicality aspect, that's what's going to make Christian lose. He's going to get big brothered all night. I think he's got a really bright future. I think the kid is crazy talented. This is not the fight for him. This is just not the fight for him.
Yeah, you made a good comparison, Dominic Cruz and Demetrius Johnson. And we all know how good Demetrius is. And at 135, Dominic just bigged him. He was, I mean, they're both technical. They're both really big. And, it's been a long time since I watched that fight, but I remember the first round, if I remember correctly, DJ doing really well and really picking him apart. Not crazy, but touching and moving and winning. Dominic having a hard time adjusting. And then the second round, Dominic came out and was like, I'm big. I'm throwing you around. I'm grabbing you. We're done here. And, size, there's weight classes for a reason, folks.
Yeah. And Locke just asked, like, what did you learn from the Reyes fight and what could you take into this one? Are you able to answer that or just size? Big brother, this kid.
No, I think, I don't know that I learned anything from that. And I don't mean that like I didn't learn anything. I knew what we were getting into going into that fight. And I think a lot of that came down to, I don't think, well, one, I think that Christian's cage wrestling defense was definitely much better stylistically versus Junior's offensive cage wrestling. Junior's a 3-time state champion in high school, but his cage wrestling is not
really?
as
Damn.
Yeah. Yep. From Maryvale, 3-time state champ. But his cage wrestling is not as good as his outside wrestling is, at that level. And the other thing too is Junior just, they had very similar records, but Christian was just more experienced. He was calm in there and he was relaxed. And Junior even said it afterwards. He was just not, he just wasn't as experienced. He's like, man, he was more experienced than me, even though we have the same amount of fights. And you could see that he was comfortable in there and Junior just wasn't as comfortable. And that's, that means a lot. It doesn't matter what you can do in the room. It matters what you can do in front of people when the pressure is on. And Christian was just more feeling that pressure and able to implement his game with the pressure versus Junior was not comfortable being there in that situation. He just needed a lot. Junior needed more fight time to, get to that Christian Rodriguez fight.
I think what's cool about Christian is I think this fight on Saturday does not come down to UFC jitters. I don't think it comes down to any other circumstances other than me versus you. Who's the better fighter at this weight, or what? Just who's the better fighter? And I think in this one, JP is going to get it done. I think it's a tough fight, but I think it's handily. I think he easily wins.
The thing is that regardless of weight, I was so impressed with JP's ability to throw Omar Morales down. And Omar is a big 55er with unbelievably good takedown defense. So size,
matters.
Well, it does, but it didn't matter with JP and Omar. Omar is the bigger, stronger fighter, and JP threw him down as well.
All right. So I think we got our winner on this one without saying too much.
Yeah, next up we've got what do we have next up? Oh, Joaquin Buckley am Abdul Razak Hassan, Al-Hassan. That's too many syllables for me to say. Um, the strangest thing about this fight to me is the common opponent of Alessio Di Chirico. Di Chirico? Whatever. Di Chirico? Whatever. However the hell you say that name. And Alessio was orthodox. Threw a right high kick, knocked Buckley out. For some reason, when he fought Abdul Al-Hassan, and we had Alessio winning that, that was one of those ones that one killed us, killed our
Oh, I
parlays.
had $60,000 on it. Yeah.
Yeah. He came out as a southpaw against Al-Hassan and got right high kicked, the exact same thing that he did to Buckley, Al-Hassan did to him. And I such a weird thing. And I don't know why he came out as a southpaw. I don't know what the hell happened. And I'm curious if that is going to play a part in this fight. I don't know if it will at all. That's just me talking about a very similar situation with two fights with a common opponent. I like Buckley. I think he's talented. I think I think people really like Buckley. I think they think he's this dynamic brawler who does like Johnny Walker. They think he's Johnny Walker. He's fast. He's doing these explosive things, and he kind of is. But unlike Johnny Walker, I think that he has a very well-rounded skill set, separate from the explosive, crazy knockouts. I actually like his striking as a whole. His grappling's not his strong point, but he's not a bad grappler. He's hard to finish. We saw him against, was it Logan Storley, who decisioned him, but he hung in there. He lost that fight. I really like Buckley as a fighter. Al-Hassan, I actually think that he's not as bad technically as I remember him being. I remember him just like being so bad and just going out there and just swinging and knocking people out, but going, wow, he's horrible. He's actually not. He's actually not as bad as I remember him either. My thing with Al-Hassan is that he is all gas. And I mean, that is it. Like, that bell rings and he is going until he doesn't have anything to give. And I think after the 3-minute mark, if he hasn't knocked Buckley out, I don't think he has a shot of winning that fight. And we talk about it all the time. If you've got, a puncher and a technician, generally the technician wins. Then you've got, two athletic guys who both have power, who both have speed, and one of them is just more technically sound with better cardio in Buckley. I mean, you've got to bet Al-Hassan could win this. Al-Hassan could go out and get a 1-second knockout over Buckley. You can't bet that because all of the stuff, all of the numbers, all of the criteria, all of the fight IQ, the cardio, the technique go to Buckley. He could still lose, but you've got to bet Buckley 10 out of 10 times. That's the better fight here.
It's the right bet. Yeah.
It's the right bet. Doesn't mean he's going to win. That is absolutely the right bet here.
You know what? Let me get on my soapbox for a minute.
Okay, get up.
I have
get
lost
on the soapbox.
I've lost like 10, 12, 15,000 this year. I don't know. I stopped keeping track a long time ago. And every single time that I've lost on making the correct bet. And I'm never going to stop making the correct bet because the correct bet here is Joaquin Buckley. He's 27 years old. He's in the prime of his career. He's got power in both hands. He's got good boxing. He doesn't cut much weight. He can wrestle. He breaks guys down that are much bigger and much better than him. Not better than him, but much bigger than him. You look on the other side, Abdul Razak Al-Hassan, I have done hours and hours and hours of tape. The guy has it for a minute and a half. The guy's got it. He's dangerous. He's going to swing them things. After that, it's a wrap. I mean, the second he gets put on his back, the second that he hits air, if he doesn't connect with you, it is over. And the other thing too is it takes two to tango. A lot of those knockouts, half of his knockouts are Sabah Homasi, who has the most talent and the worst fight IQ I've ever seen. Like, the guy is just bananas and he's chinny and he just runs it. I like Joaquin here. Joaquin keeps a nice high guard. He sees things coming really, really well, obviously, other than the Jericho fight. I don't think this one's going to be close. I think Joaquin is going to do whatever he wants to do to him. It's hard to make a bet when you're hoping a guy has to land one punch. That's a horrible bet to make. If you don't think his skills are going to add up anywhere else and you're just hoping for that one punch, then yeah, bet him by a first round knockout. And after that, the bet has to be Joaquin Buckley.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
So I think we can lay this one to rest. We're going to go Joaquin Buckley on this.
Jim Miller and Nicholas Mota. Gosh, it is hard to bet against Jim Miller because the dude is as tough as nails. And it is hard to bet on a 38, 39-year-old, and against a fast puncher. This is a really hard one for me. I like Mota. He's fast. He's got a really good jab. He really has a really nice jab. And the thing with Mota is we talk about it all the time. You'll hear us talking about borders in fighting, and that's kind of like like when are you fighting? Like here are my hands. Like okay, here you're just pulling the trigger. Okay, here we're kind of kicking and touching and going, and then there's the pocket. And you cross that line with Mota where you guys can touch each other, and that dude fires. He does not hesitate. He doesn't fire one shot. He machine gun fires 3 to 4 punches always. Watch all of his fights. Hands up, marching forward-ish for the most part. He's there. He's not running. And you touch him and he's got a hair trigger and he's firing 4 punches. I don't know. The thing with that is for as hard as it looks like he hits, and as good of a striker as he is not one punching people. He is not putting people out with this magnificent power. His last couple fights were decisions. His contender fight, he landed a billion punches that all will look like these stinging punches. And gosh, who's his opponent?
Joseph Lowry.
Lowry wore him well and didn't really look like he was just wobbled all over the place, getting rocked and dropped. And I mean, he wore it relatively well. Jim Miller, we've seen him take some shots, but he is not really. I mean, he's lost a lot of his last, few years of fights, but he's losing them by decision for the most part. I think he's going to be hard to finish. And as crazy as it is, I think I'm going Jim Miller on this one. I think Jim still has a little bit of fight left in him, and he's absolutely losing to the top guys. I see this fight being kind of similar to his last fight. Do you think I'm crazy over here?
Not that you're crazy, because I tried my hardest to kind of find that angle too, where I was going to feel, man, Jim Miller's a really good bet. And I mean, he's not a bad bet. I mean, I want to use this word really carefully because it usually is cash for us, but he's an ultra vet. I mean, he's been around a long time. But I don't really put him like fights wise. He's there. He's an ultra vet. But if you look at his last few fights, how he's fought, he doesn't look like an ultra vet. He fought Eric Gonzalez, right? And he comes out swinging, gets clipped, and then he just empties the freaking gas tank trying to put him out. We saw that against Vince Pichel. Man, that dude was dog tired after one round. I mean, he is giving everything he has, and he's gassing, and that's really concerning to me, especially against a guy like Mota who's fought 4 5s before. In CFFC, he's fought for the title. He's gone a long time. Unanimous decision. That's a lot of fighting. I think Mota. I think Mota's good. He puts his combinations together. It's been a long time since I've seen a guy who throws as many punches and as hard of punches as he does. He puts them together.
Minimum combo is like a 4-punch combo. I mean, he
It's
comes literally.
incredible.
He's firing 3 punches almost every time he fires. I really like him. I really do like Mota. I don't think I'm going to bet this fight. I don't know that I can. just because the age factor and the sloppiness of Jim Miller lately. I just don't know that Mota is the guy to retire Jim Miller. And he might be. He may absolutely be that guy. I just don't I think he's got one more in him, and I think it's gonna be a bigger power puncher than Mota to do it.
I wanted to pick against Mota purely because he looks like a Ninja Turtle. But then I see that he's best friends with RDA. And I have so much respect for RDA. I think RDA is one of those guys that is not just good everywhere, he's great everywhere. He's a great stand-up guy, great jiu-jitsu, fight IQ, cardio is off the charts. And that's his understudy. That's his little buddy. They travel the world together. I think we saw in a lot of his earlier fights, he get taken down, and he looked to struggle with the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu there. I think he's coming into his own. It's been a while since he's fought. RDA is not going to let him stay on his back. I mean, RDA is going to show him the ropes, teach him the good stuff. And if you look on Mota's record, he's got a win over Selecki. Joe Selecki.
I know who just beat
Jim
Jim Miller
Miller,
a couple fights ago. Yes, he
who
absolutely
is the
does.
younger version of Jim Miller. He's just the same guy.
Yeah, he really is. He
So
really is. I just, man, I want everything in my being says to pick Mota here. He's faster. He has better cardio. I worry about his finishing ability. Um, Miller is going to gas, but I think Miller's weird dogfightiness. I wouldn't be surprised if he catches a scramble and catches a submission here.
Uh man, I mean I could see it, but I just don't think Jim Miller is as good at submissions as everybody thinks he is. I watched Vince Pichel piece him up on the ground. Every right decision, he made every good move and shut him down. I think guys are too good in MMA these days to be getting caught with stuff that Jim Miller has to offer. I think he's not finishing guys where he's supposed to be finishing them if he'll get on their back. I just think guys are too good. I think the level's too high now. And honestly, I didn't think very much of Eric Gonzalez. I did a lot of tape on him, and I was like, man, Miller is gonna kill this guy. It won't be close for a second.
Yep.
And man, was that fight close. That guy
Yeah.
had no power and rocked Jim Miller. I can only imagine what Mota's going to do to him.
All right. Parker Porter, Alan Badeau.
This
What
is
do
the
you got
people's
here?
main event.
This is the people's main event.
Well, I guess, guys, everyone's waiting for me to say don't overthink this one. I think there's a lot of thinking on this card. I think this is going to end up being one of the easier cards, actually. Maybe this is where I say it, but I don't really want to say it. I think Parker Porter's solid here. I think he's got good boxing. He legitimately slips punches very well and parries punches very well, and he counters back. He's got great counter punching. He puts volume, 2, 3, 4 punches, and he comes forward. All of that stuff I really like about Parker Porter. I was hoping that his wrestling was actually a little bit better than it was, right? He gets that volume, puts you on the cage, and takes you down, but he is struggling to get anybody down. I mean, he's not a good wrestler. Um, I think Badeau has all the physical tools to beat Parker Porter. I think he's a good enough striker. He's got good low kicks. He's got all the physical tools to do it. I think he's a quitter, and he struggles with volume. I like Parker Porter here decently. Again, I can't put the kid's college fund on it.
You made a good point, and we saw a fight similar to this last weekend. Badeau has all of the physical characteristics to beat Parker Porter, but Parker Porter is a smarter fighter. We had Alex Hernandez last week with, who did he fight? Moicano. And that's what we said is Alex Hernandez was physically better everywhere. And we were like, hey, Moicano is going to win this fight. Like I had money on Moicano. I didn't see there was a way that he loses. And Hernandez is so much the better athlete just without the brains to match the bronze. And I think that's what we see here. Porter's ability, he moves so much lighter than he is. He rolls punches. He slips
He's got the
punches.
heaviest ass in the UFC.
Yes.
Him and Jojo are 1 and 2.
Like I love how he slips, how he moves. I liked him in his last fight. I like him here. Again, he can get heavyweight is heavyweight. You get a fast, athletic, dynamic dude at heavyweight, anything can happen. I think Parker wins this. I don't, as somebody I heard say this before, I don't know who, don't overthink this, guys.
On Parker Porter, though, come on.
Nah, nah. I mean, I just he could lose. Don't get me wrong. I just I like him here. I think he's a solid. Um, I think it's a solid one.
All right, I guess we got Parker Porter. I think he's just going to make him quit. I think he finally gets that finish in the UFC just because Badeau's such a baby quitter.
Um, Somebody's saying Porter looks so slow though, and that is true. He's not, but he's fluid. He is so fluid. He is fluid,
His
and
boxing is good.
his boxing is good. And when you get a very dynamic fighter who is fast, who you cannot match speed with, it's timing and rhythm. Look at DC. Look at him, his weird style, his rolling punches. He kind of finds a way in and out of these positions. Cormier would. Um, Look, it helps to be fast and explosive, but when you have a good rhythm, and that's boxing 101, roll with the punches, and he does that well. And I think that is going to negate some of that speed. Who do we have? And Kyle Dawkins and Jamie Pickett.
So we
Um,
got the co-main event.
yeah, co-main event, co-main event, co-main event. I like this spot. I really like this spot a lot. I think it is going to be a clear victory for Dawkins, but I think Jamie Pickett loves to make fights close, even to guys who I think are a lot better than him. He has a style to beat slight favorites. He's going to be a dog in some fights, a plus 150 going against a negative and 110 to 190 ish, somewhere in that range. And he's going to beat those guys. He's going to beat those slight favorites. He's going to win when he's a slight dog because as weird as it is, you kind of think of him as a striker, these long arms. He swings. I think he fancies himself more of a striker. He doesn't have a really strong amateur wrestling pedigree, but what he's best at is being tough, clinching, and pushing people against the fence. His defensive cage wrestling is probably his best attribute. And then I think he catches people off guard and gets some offensive wrestling of his own here and there to guys who aren't phenomenal wrestlers. Thing is Kyle Dawkins is clean. His stand up is clean. He is not a great wrestler, but he's a good scrambler and he has good submissions. I can't imagine we're gonna see Jamie Pickett want to bring this to the ground. I don't think he's gonna want to engage that much. If he does, I could see him getting guillotined or darced for his efforts. And I think we see Dawkins kind of picking him apart standing and finding a lot of success. And then I think it just comes down to, can Jamie push Dawkins against the fence for more of that 15 minutes than anything else is occurring during that fight? And I don't think he can. I don't think he's going to be able to control him against the fence. And I think that's the only real path to victory for Pickett on this spot here.
Man, I struggle with this one too. I mean, everybody, it's so cool to go against the grain and be the one guy, dying on your own hill alone. And then you're right and you look like a genius. You're wrong. That was supposed to happen. The problem that I have with Dawkins here is he struggles with physicality. If you look at the kid, he's exactly what he looks like. He's unathletic, he's weak, and he's very technical. He's a thinker. Every time he has lost moments in fights, it's been against somebody who was faster and stronger and more athletic than he is. And Jamie Pickett is faster, stronger, more athletic. The other thing too is Kyle Dawkins, for the most part, fights guys that are a lot shorter than he is. He's able to pick apart guys like Michael Lombardo, like Phil Haas. He can beat these kind of guys on the feet. Well, Jamie Pickett is strong. He's fast. He's almost not good enough, which might help him win. right? I don't think he's good enough to secure takedowns over and over again. He's not going to really commit to anything. He's just going to be bigger and stronger and push him on the cage. Um, conventional wisdom, and we talk about this all the time. Kyle Dawkins is the better fighter. Better fighters win 90% of the time. His striking is actually really, really fun to watch. It's really clean. He's got great Darce chokes. But honestly, in a lot of his fights, the way that he wins is the other guy messing up. And I don't even know if Jamie Pickett will take enough risks to mess up here. I think he's going to put him on the cage and make this a really close, like really weirdly grimy fight. Um, I don't want to die in the Jamie Pickett hill ever. So, I think Kyle finds a way to get it done here. But I wouldn't be shocked to see an upset. I really wouldn't.
If it's going to be an upset, it's going to be a decision. It's going to be Pickett pushing him against the fence. I mean, honestly, that's it. That's how Pickett wins is he gets some punches and other people allow Pickett to do that. Because like you said, Pickett doesn't want to fight. As weird as that sounds, he does not want to trade. He does not want to fight for takedowns. He does not want to. He kind of anti-fights and wins by anti-fighting. I think Dawkins, and that's what I said initially, is I think Dawkins is going to do enough in those exchanges on the feet before the clinch occurs. And I think the judges are going to want to award the damage and the willingness to fight from Dawkins over the pushing up
Nothing.
against the fence and inability and unwillingness to fight with Pickett.
All right, I concede. Easy victory, Kyle Dawkins. I concede. You didn't have to twist my arm too much on this one. I just, he just gets out athletic so much. He is exactly what he looks like, man. He just is.
I think he is, but I don't think he's I think he's stronger. I think he's going to be stronger than Dawkins, and of course he's going to be just overall more athletic. That's not saying much, but he's not a Phil Hawes explosive, dynamic guy. He's a big, strong guy who's going to use his physicality to control the cage, not his physicality to blast double and create these big explosive moments. If he was a really explosive guy who was just doing really wild dynamic stuff, I could get on that a little bit more. But just using the physicality of it, I don't think that's going to be enough.
To me, this everyone's asking for like the spots that are good on this card. To me, this card is the spot of just over 1.5s. Over 0.5s on Bovada. There's a lot of really, really good ones with like pretty good odds on it. But this fight over 1.5, that to me is an easy one. I think it should be an easy one. I like that probably more than Dawkins here, but I like Dawkins. I think it's both good spots.
Okay, well, let's go. Before we get to the main event, let's actually run through some of the spots that just, normally we save for the Patreon. We're doing a live one. And these aren't, on the Patreon, we do a love them and like them picks. Okay. So for you guys that are on the Patreon, you already know, I mean, these are things that we're actually going to bet. So on the podcast, we talk about who we think are going to win. They don't always get our money. And so a lot of these guys on here, so it's funny. People might say, oh, well, you called 7 fights wrong on the podcast. Yeah, but we're not betting those fights. So who cares? Because not all fights are worth betting. And I might like
last week I did 14 for 15 and you did what 7 for 9 or something like that. Like every week yes. we get there.
Yeah. So the people who are actually getting our money, those are our love them and our like them picks. Now, that said, I'm going to go through some picks that I like preliminarily on this card that I actually like. These are not necessarily some of them might be my love them and like them picks that I put on the Patreon when I actually dig in a little bit more and really go. But just off the top of my head, because you said there's a lot of weird spots on this card. Diana, Balbita, and Gloria de Paula. Over 1.5 there is almost guaranteed money. The Stephanie Egger, Jessica Rose Clark, again, over 1.5 there is almost guaranteed money. And then if you want to goes the distance, that is easy money. Not easy, but I like that too. And generally goes the distance or doesn't go the distance is a little bit riskier because those are harder bets. But I think that's a solid one here. If we're going straight up, I like Onama straight up. I like Mario Batista straight up. Um, we know I've got to play in the JP Pierce Christian Rodriguez one, and I think that's a no brainer. I think one that I think I like right now is Buckley, and Al-Hassan doesn't go the distance. I think that's probably a decent bet right there. Um, and then the Kyle Dawkins and the Jamie Pickett. Um, that's not going to go the distance. That's going to go 6 rounds. That's going to go 14 rounds of fighting right there. And I think that's an easy one, over 1.5, over 2.5, something like that. Um, I think over 1.5, like you said, is a very smart play. And I think if you pick goes the distance, I don't think you're an idiot for doing so. So I think
Can
those are
I
a
add
couple.
a couple here?
Absolutely.
Because I agree with everything that literally to a T, everything that you said there. I actually really like the Jesse Strader, Chad Engler. I like Chad just straight up. And then I love that fight to not go the distance. Both of them have a lot of finishes on their record. And I think Jesse's gonna gas out or Chad gets knocked out in the first. The Chaz Skelly Mark Striegl fight to not go the distance. Somebody's got to get finished there by
Somebody's
sub or by
gassing there.
knockout.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that one. I like the Pierce and Rodriguez fight over a round and a half. I think Christian's good enough to just survive for at least a round and a half. Let's see. The Parker Porter, Alan Badeau. I think that one's good to not go the distance. That should cover both of your bases. Badeau, the quitter, Parker Porter, I like that one. And then I think that takes us pretty much to the main event here.
Yeah, I think so. I think those are so if you guys are wondering, like, again, sometimes the bet isn't the win. It's the over, it's the under, because, sometimes betting two guys you shouldn't bet on, the only bet is that they're both bad enough that somebody loses so within the distance.
All
So
right, so we
brings us to
got
the main
Johnny Walker and
event.
Jamal Hill.
Brings us to the main event. Johnny Walker, Jamal Hill. Um, when I first started watching tape here, I like Jamal Hill. I like him. I think he's got a really good right hook. His volume is good. He's dynamic. His jujitsu, I think, is even better than we give him credit for, even though he got armbarred by Paul Craig in like 4 seconds. Before that, he was moving correctly and doing stuff well. Paul Craig is just a crafty little bugger on the ground, and that's that. Um, but I do think that Hill has his chin's high. He reaches for his punches a little bit, and he stretches himself out off balance, which could lead him to get countered and get hit with some wild Walker shit. Initially, after watching Hill, I was like, man, I think I like Johnny Walker here. He's 6'6", he's huge. We know he's wild, and um, we know he can go the distance. So he went the distance with Santos. He's got some 5-round experience. Um, but yes, he's throwing flying knees. He's throwing jumping elbows. He's throwing all of the spinning stuff. When he's not doing the wild stuff, he's kind of inactive, and I don't think he really knows how to engage. He doesn't know how to jab and just draw somebody out. Uh, and the other thing that he does is he gets hit a lot in exchanges because he tends to retreat backwards and almost like Gabriel Benitez we were talking about earlier. He's too willing to trade while he's on his heels, and that leads to him getting clipped and punched when he's exchanging with people. Um, I don't know that is going to benefit him here. My only real issue with this fight, if it was a 3-round fight, I would say Jamal Hill every day of the week. I like him. I mean, again, Johnny, we're talking the one punch stuff, the crazy stuff. Al-Hassan. Al-Hassan can beat Buckley, but Buckley's a better fighter. I think that's here. Jamal Hill is the better fighter, but of course Walker can win. He's Johnny Walker. He does some crazy stuff. The real the play for me here is this is Hill's first main event. This is his first 5-round fight. How does he handle the main event pressure and how does he handle round 4 and 5 if it gets there? That is my worry about this fight. Other than that, I think that Jamal Hill is gonna win the striking exchanges, and I think his volume is enough to where he ends up winning the decision if it goes that far based on the volume in the striking exchanges. He doesn't block kicks at all. I don't even know if he knows that he has legs. He doesn't kick much. He doesn't block kicks much. Um, that could pose a problem later in the fight if Johnny Walker decides to kick. But I think the real play here is how does he handle the pressure and how does he handle the long rounds if it gets that far? What do you think here in terms of breaking the fight down?
Well, let me preface with this. I've had this weird like thing in my mind about Jamal Hill for years and years and years. I was like, this guy's just a Detroit brawler. Like this guy sucks. The second he fights somebody real, he's gonna get smashed. And what he did to Jimmy Crute was damn impressive. Even when Paul Craig pulled guard, you could see that he knows what he's doing on the ground. He makes good decisions, but what I was really impressed with was his striking is actually, man, it's very clean. He uses feints. His distance management is excellent. The one thing, and we talked about this, we don't like is he does keep his chin up in the air a lot. And that's a tough proposition against 6'6", explosive Johnny Walker. So like you said, Johnny Walker can win this fight. I have to apologize to somebody first and foremost because, I was making jokes about Jason Witt's chin for a long time. I was saying if we talk too loud, he's going to get KO'd. And that happened. Johnny Walker might have a worse chin than Jason Witt. I mean, everything knocks that dude down and out. Like, it is crazy. I think Jamal
Well, I
does
think
even
I
like,
got to interrupt you there. I think part of that is his style. He's so stiff because he's ready to jump, and you can't be loose and dynamic kind of at the same time. You've got to be like a little stiff, a little tense, and ready for those big explosive movements. And because you need muscle contraction, that's physiology, folks. And when you're that stiff, you're going to get dropped, you're going to get rocked, and these punches are going to hurt more than they should. It almost doesn't matter if he has a bad chin or not, like his actual chin, his actual ability to absorb a punch. If you tense up your entire jaw and flex your entire body and take a shot, even a weak shot is probably going to put you on your ass. And that's almost Johnny Walker right here. He's so ready to explode in these moments that he's going to get rocked and hurt more than he ever should.
you know what? I think this is the wisest thing that I said, and I've said it like week after week now. The things that make Johnny Walker great, the things that make Johnny Walker his ability to win a fight, are also the same things that are going to make him lose the fight. And what I mean is, we saw him lose in a point fight against Thiago Santos. He looked horrible. He had no volume, and the part that makes me mad, he's got this insane body. I mean, if I had a body like that, get out of here. Like, I'm world champion 10 times over. But the things that make him great is this explosive, this dynamic, throwing knees from angles you've never seen before, just all these crazy punches and explosive things. Those same things that make him so great are also going to get him laid out by Jamal Hill. They're going to put him unconscious on the canvas, looking up at the referee. And then if he doesn't do those things, now you have a point fight with a guy who's legitimately got good striking. Like, good distance. His volume is excellent. He works a really good jab. Like, he's got good fight IQ. I just don't see a path to victory for Johnny Walker in a straight up fist fight here. Not for 3 rounds, not for 5 rounds. I really don't think Jamal Hill's the kind of guy to care about a main event. That guy seems like a dude who just loves to fight, and he wants to show the world how great Detroit is, how great he is. I think Jamal Hill is on the precipice of becoming a star here, and Johnny Walker's his stepping stone.
I like it. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. What you said, and this is the biggest takeaway, what I think of what you just said is what makes him great is what is going to get him in trouble. And he has got to do the crazy wild stuff, or how does he win? And then if he doesn't, he's gonna lose. Like that's it. He's got to fight to win, and his fighting to win is dynamic. If it was his first fight in the UFC, maybe he catches Jamal Hill with some wild shit. But we've seen enough Johnny Walker to know what you're getting. It's like Michelle Pereira. You know what you're getting. First time you see him fight, or if you've never seen him fight and you're staring across the cage from him and and then he's throwing capoeira kicks from the, hallways backstage at you, of course it's going to catch you off guard. Johnny Walker we've seen it. We've seen it. We've seen it. We've seen it. I don't know that we've really seen him win with a conservative jab, pick somebody apart, and systematically break them down and win a fight. And I don't know that he can win that way. And it's Alex Hernandez. It's Alex Hernandez. We talked about this already. When Alex Hernandez came on the scene, he was dynamic and explosive. And the second you started trying to tame that took away his biggest attribute, which is his physicality and explosiveness. And you try and turn Mike Tyson into a point fighter and watch him lose every fight. All right. Mike Tyson, it needs to get in there and swing, eat your babies, and go home. All right. Otherwise, I mean, he's not going to do it. And I think that's what we have here with Johnny Walker. I'm with you. I like Jamal Hill. And I think, but round 4 and 5 for live betting could get interesting if the fight goes that long. If you start seeing Jamal Hill fade in round 2 and 3, a crazy weird Walker bet later is not the worst thing I've ever seen. And I only say that because we can only go off of what we've seen of the tape last, but it's a 2-year layoff. So you don't really know what you're going to get. We can only do that. We can only talk about Jamal Hill up until 3 rounds because we haven't seen him in round 4 and 5 yet. So we go with what we've seen. You cannot assume anything. You can't assume he's going to gas. You can't assume he's not going to gas. We can only go off what we've seen before. So I think Hill here. And I think he's a better fighter.
All right. I mean, that pretty much does the UFC card. Thank you guys all for hopping on. Should we give a treat real quick? Just run through this Bellator card in 3 minutes.
Give me your best. I haven't taken a look at it. And you guys, like, again, I'm sick. So if I get everything wrong this week, it's only because I'm sick and I'm medicine headed up. Right before we started this podcast, I took 2 more Tylenol, severe cold and flu. And I feel like since started, I feel like I'm more nasally as it goes. So I have not watched the Bellator fights. I haven't even.
I did a journal on it, so this is our apology
on the Patreon. So it's on the Patreon already.
Yep, I did it last night before you put up the UFC. So this will be our gift to you guys for, sorry for the late podcast. Tino always has technical troubles and he is sick. So we'll throw out some Bellator, some PFL. We're good to go. Pull this up real quick. All right. I'll just run through these quick. You said you haven't looked at much of anything here.
I don't even know what shows you're talking about. Bella what? Bella Pia, huh?
All right. So we'll start at the bottom really quick, guys, and I'll give you the quick rundown. Orlando Mendoza, horrible. He's awful. Okay. He does nothing. He's not dangerous on the feet. Jiu-jitsu sucks. And once he's on his back, never gets back up. But he is fighting Jonathan DiLorenzo, who makes horrible decisions, guillotines, guard pulls, all kinds of stupid stuff. But I do like Lorenzo somehow, some way to find a way to get on top. And I think he's going to beat Orlando. I don't love it, but there you go. Jonathan DiLorenzo. Next up, Isaiah Hockett versus Theodore Makuka. Hockett got knocked out in 10 seconds in his debut against a teed-up matchup. He is a college wrestler. He's a legitimately good college wrestler, I think. Not accolades-wise, but his actual skills. He is fighting Theodore Makuka, who is constantly brought in to get destroyed. He's a karate taekwondo kid who's only 22. None of his fights have gone past 1 minute and 54 seconds. I love Hockett to destroy him. the Bellator is going to finally get what they want from him. All right. Next up, Corey Samuels and Justin Montalvo. Justin Montalvo is a Serra Longo guy. He's good. He's like the reincarnation of Nick Diaz, even though Nick's not dead. Long jab. He's really game, really good fight IQ, good jiu-jitsu, good cardio. I don't think Corey Samuels is as bad as his record. His striking is pretty decent, pretty explosive, but he was 1-9 as an amateur. He knows how to quit. He knows how to lose. I like Montalvo to get it done, break him down, get the win here. Let's see. Jordan Newman and Cody Herbert. This is an easy one to me. Cody Herbert's kind of a fat Muay Thai bare knuckle guy. Jordan Newman, All-American wrestler from Rufus Sport. I think he's got a lot of holes in his game, but I mean, one takedown. Honestly, his MMA wrestling could use some work, but one takedown, he's going to get on top. He'll finish this in 1 round or 2 rounds. Like, he is just a different breed, a different animal, as long as he cannot get caught on the feet, which I think he's been doing it long enough to stay safe. Jordan Newman by a mile, guys. Don't overthink that one. This is my favorite one of the whole weekend. Next up is Brennan Ward versus Brandon Bell. Now, for you nerds out there, this fight is 100% the Christian Leroy Duncan's last fight. He fought like an old guy who was a wrestler that gassed after 1 round. And Brendan Ward's kind of a slick boxer, wrestler. This is a tee-up fight. Fighting a 10-10 guy, biggest lock of the week, Brendan Ward. Next up, Deanna Bennett, Justine Kish. I did not tape that one. I think Justine Kish is actually pretty tough. I think she's a better striker than Deanna Bennett. I kind of like her to get it done there. Let's see. Aviv Ghazali, Bobby King. This is a setup fight for Aviv. I can't trust him there. We got Bobby. I like Bobby King possibly for an upset, but I just wouldn't even touch that fight. Next up, Jalen Bates versus Chris Dissonell. The odds are just too wide for me to bet that fight. Bellator loves them some Jalen Bates. He's got some good wins. But Chris Dissonell is better than I was hoping that he would be. I still expect Jalen to get it done here. You know, they want him to win. All signs point to him winning. He's big, athletic. He's good. But that fight's really unbettable for me. Let's see. Next up, Brandon get a 2-2 turn to Colby Covington. That's true. I'm Colby Covington. All right. Next up, we got Rat Garbage and Nick Brown. I love Rat Garbage here, guys. I think he's really slick. He's a smart guy from TriStar. He's got a good initial shot defense, and he's got great power, great range, great kicks. He's a thinker. My one knock on him is if he gets on his back, he will stay on his back for the whole round. But really explosive knockouts, really, really clean striker. I love Rat Garbage here. That's one of my favorite picks, and you're getting great odds on that one. All right, next up, Davion Franklin and Saeed Salma. Problem with Saeed is he's horrible at winning fights. He just doesn't lose fights very often. And Davion Franklin is kind of the opposite. He knows how to win fights quickly, and then he forgets about losing. So I like Davion to get tired, to tire himself out. Salma comes on late, gets the job done. It's just a bad matchup for Davion Franklin. Let's see. Georgi Karakanian versus Adam Piccolotti. I want to call Adam Piccolotti an ultravet. He's got such. Coach, have you seen Adam Piccolotti fight?
I know I have, but not recently enough to give you anything educated on it.
The name sounds like just so generic, not generic, but it sounds like a mixture of Adam Boric and Aaron Pico. I know they're all mixed up in there somehow. This kid's a pleasure to watch. He's not a kid, I guess. He's in his 30s, but he is really fun to watch. His back takes, his jiu-jitsu is legitimately very, very, very good. Split decision loss in his last fight to Sydney Outlaw, who I value really, really high up the ladder. He was taking his back. He was getting on top of Sydney Outlaw, which is impressive. I like him to beat Georgie here. I think that's a runaway one. I think that's a good setup for the future for Adam Piccolotti. Next up, you got Andrei Koreshkov versus Chance Ren Couture. I think Chance is horrible. He's 35. He's slow. He's off balance. He can't really wrestle that well. everything on paper, on tape, everything says Andrei Koreshkov. Sometimes I get weird feelings about him, but I don't think this is going to be the fight he loses. He's just better everywhere. Bellator loves him, former champion. Andrei Koreshkov should be a pretty safe one. And then main event, Neiman Gracie, Logan Storley. Hopefully by that time, guys, we've won enough fights. You can just sit back and just enjoy that one. D1 grind versus jiu-jitsu. Think we'll root jiu-jitsu, but I like Logan Storley a lot too.
Yeah. Nice. Well, there you have it, guys. Some extra goodies for you, Bellator. Good luck. Check out the Patreon, Patreon/MMA breakdowns and bets. And I believe that is a wrap, folks.
Alrighty, guys. Thanks so much. Peace.
Awesome. We'll see you. Have fun.